In this video, I'll show you another way to do an indirect proof for this particular problem, showing that given this premise, the conclusion tilde s logically follows. This is just to show you for some proofs, there's multiple ways to demonstrate that the conclusion necessarily follows from the premise. Another way of saying that this conclusion tilde s follows from this premise is also to say that there's no case where this argument has a false conclusion and true premises. And so we can demonstrate that by showing that if it does have a false conclusion, then some contradiction occurs here such that this conclusion could never be true. So that's why we start our indirect proofs with the assumption line showing the conclusion false. And the way we do that is through negating it. So if our conclusion is tilde s, then showing that false would mean tilde s. And that is the assumption of indirect proof. That's what that indentation means. That's what the assumption entails. We're assuming the conclusion false. Now, the third line can be either a restatement of the premise, or we could just get rid of these double negations. Either way is going to be fine. So let's just get rid of the double negation here for line 3, which is just going to leave us with S. And that's justified from line 2 using the double negation rule. And then line 4 is going to be just the restatement of the premise. If S or T, then tilde S. And we just show that that's premise 1. Now you'll notice that without doing anything else, we're stuck. We can't do any derivations from lines 2, 3, and 4. We can't do anything else at this point. We need to start applying some of our rules of inference. And the rule of inference that's going to come in handy when you feel stuck is often going to be the addition rule. So I'm going to just do line 5 here, and I'll explain it along the way. So from lines 3, I get S, and I know that a conjunction, the whole conjunction is true as long as one side is true. And we know the S side of this disjunct is true. So I can then add anything using the disjunction rule, and I can justify that. Line 3, that's where we get the S, and this is called the addition rule. Because line 3 shows that S is true based on our assumption, we can add anything to it using the disjunction rule because all we need for a whole disjunction to be true is one side, one disjunct to be true, which is S from line 3. Now, we can see that line 5 is the antecedent for this whole conditional. So now we can use the modus ponens rule to derive line 6, which is tilde S using lines 4 and 5 using the modus ponens rule of inference, right? This is the antecedent, and so we get the consequent, the negation of S. Now remember, we were trying to derive a contradiction assuming the conclusion false, meaning derive a contradiction. If we have a contradiction, then the premise can never be true. while the conclusion false. It's just an indirect way to prove something, to prove that a conclusion logically follows from the premise. So lines 3 and line 6 entails that direct contradiction. So we'll use the conjunction rule to combine S from line 3 and tilde S from line 6 to demonstrate that direct contradiction. So now that we've derived the direct contradiction that results from assuming the conclusion false, we can discharge the assumption portion, that indented portion of our proof, and bring it back out under the original margins. So line 8, we are showing that tilde S follows when we assume it false, when we assume the opposite of that conclusion. And so that becomes justified. We'll keep them all of our justifications under the same, well, roughly the same column here. So that's going to be justified from lines 2 through 7 using the indirect proof method. And so our proof is complete.